We are live. Happy Sunday. I'm waiting for people to join in. Come on, come on. Hi, welcome. I'm gonna give you a wave. Hey, coach. So hopefully y'all can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I have a little music playing in the background. Let me know if it's too distracting. If I need to cut it down a little bit, I can do so. But are y'all watching Girlfriends right now? I'll wait till some more people join in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me see if I can pin a comment to it. Questions. Hey, Jamila. How are you? Are you watching Girlfriends right now? Hi. Welcome. Let me know if y'all can hear me. I can turn this down a little bit because I have some music. So are y'all binge watching Girlfriends right now? I had to come in here and talk about Girlfriends. Hunty. I'm on like season 5. I'm almost done with season 5, I think. Or I might be in season 6 already. I cannot remember. But I had to come in here and chat with you guys because Girlfriends, first of all, I miss that. I miss having that kind of content on. Yes, girls. Jamila says she's watching it every day. Girl, I'm watching it like every day. I watch at least 3 episodes. But I was thinking about how entrepreneurship is shown in Girlfriends, and I wanted to talk about it. So hold on. I need to cut off my stove. So I'm sorry, guys. I need to cut off my stove before I hurt something. So let me do that. But anyway, yes. So I was, if y'all are just joining, we're talking about Girlfriends, you guys. I want to know if y'all are watching it on Netflix. And I wanted to talk. Hey, Latoya. Latoya and I just finished up a live stream. The link to it is in my bio if y'all want to check it out. We talked about how to build business credit, so definitely check that out. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Girlfriends and how entrepreneurship is being depicted in Girlfriends because I thought it was so interesting. And for me, I'm 28, so when I was initially watching Girlfriends, I was, oh my God, middle school, late elementary, watching it with my mom. And I didn't know, I was a kid watching it. I understood certain concepts, but it's really cool to watch it again now and be the age of the actual women on the show. And I really had a lot of thoughts about, I'm at the point now where like Joan and William have started their own restaurant together. So I was thinking a lot about how the show shows entrepreneurship and how like kind of towards the end of the show, the later seasons, all of the women are essentially, yeah, Jamila says she can't believe Joan is supposed to be 29. I think towards the end of the show, she's like 34, 35, maybe even 36 by the time the show ends. So it does kind of follow her over ages. But I do think when it first started, she was supposed to be like 29, 30. I remember they had an episode in season 1 with her 30th birthday. But I was thinking about how all the women towards the end of the show, they're all entrepreneurs. For the most part, I feel like Lynn never really had a solid job anyway. She was always doing her own thing. Maya starts to do the whole book thing. I'm gonna make sure y'all can see me. Yeah, Maya starts to do the whole book thing. She's building her brand as an author. Toni was an entrepreneur. She was a real estate agent. Eventually she goes and starts her own business. She was, I guess, with a brokerage. And then she gets her broker's license and she starts her own business. And then eventually Joan, the one who's safe, the one who goes to her job every day, the one who needs stability and consistency, it doesn't take a lot of risk. Even she starts a business. And even William, who, really pretty much reaches the pinnacle in his career at such a young age. Also, like William being super phenomenal because it wasn't clear what William's age was. I don't know. Do y'all know how old William was? I remember there was an episode where Joan calls William a big brother. So I'm guessing he's a little older than her, but I don't think there's a big age difference between the two of them. So even William is probably like, maybe if Joan is 29 when the show starts, maybe William's a couple years older than that. So for him to also be in the position that he was able to gain, get to like becoming a senior partner in this prestigious law firm, but then also owning a business and investing in a successful restaurant. Like, I thought that was super cool. And I definitely titled this chat Be a William and Not a Joan because just a few episodes ago, where I am in the series, Joan, has started her restaurant, and she's decorated it a particular kind of way. And she has, this very, these tapas, like this very, I want to say exquisite, but I don't know if exquisite is the right word. It's kind of like unique menu, and she's not making any money at the restaurant. And I tell, when I'm doing my live chats and I'm talking to clients and stuff, I tell them this all the time. It's not about what you want, it's about what people want. And of course, William just being, it says, Jamila says William is a few years older because he's the second youngest partner. I think he's just a few years older. I agree with that. And so, William is like in the business to make money. For him, it's not necessarily a passion thing. It's like, this seems like an exciting opportunity to make money and to do something fun. And it was cool to see the dynamic. I appreciated the dynamic between William and Joan, just how their relationship evolved. They tried out dating, all of these things, but just to see them in the business capacity work together, and how Joan kind of had to overcome her ego and kind of her expectation and readjust and be flexible in her expectation and evolve as a person. Like, you really see as she's starting this restaurant business, she becomes more open-minded, more flexible, more agile, because at first she just wanted the restaurant to be the way she wanted it to be. And she really had a hard time dealing with the fact that other people did not like that. Like, people do not want to eat tapas like that. People were not interested in, the decor and just the whole vibe of it. People weren't interested in it. So when you have William, who was just trying to make some money, let me roll some TVs in here in the restaurant, and we'll, have a bunch of guys over to watch the game. And then they realize, hey, this is actually making us money. And they combine their visions together to make it like an upscale, trendy sports bar. And they're making a bunch of money, and they're doing really well. And Joan is flourishing. And it's just so cool to see her kind of get over that mental block, and how actually transitioning into business helped her to grow so much, because she was so, like I was saying, the first 3 seasons, very like structured, very rigid, even at the point where I think it's in season, so I can mess up, the seasons are like 1 million episodes, so it's hard to differentiate when you're binge watching what season is what. But I think it was season 2 that Toni starts her own firm, her own real estate firm, and how Toni is determined. She's like, I'm gonna do this. She secures her funding. She gets a bomb, beautiful office, like everything she wanted, she got. But Joan was like, could not even fathom what that was about. And so it's so interesting to see her be that rigid, structured person, and then eventually take that leap to also start a business, and have to go through that process of realizing that, while being rigid and inflexible worked in the law firm, it's not going to serve you in the business capacity if you want to be successful, and her having to be flexible about that. So that was super cool to see her kind of just evolve in that way. It was super cool to see Toni just step out and start her own business, see Maya flourishing in her book career and building her brand. And it was cool the way that the show kind of presented entrepreneurship as this road to freedom, and as a tool to make these women, I guess, mature and grow in different ways in their relationships with one another, but then also just made them evolve individually, essentially, just make them evolve as people. And so I appreciate the way the show kind of show entrepreneurship. So what do y'all think? Like, have y'all been watching this show? If you haven't, do you remember the episodes? What do you think about how, drop down in the comments and let me know, what do you think about how the show kind of showed entrepreneurship and Girlfriends, and how you saw kind of Joan being the main character essentially, and how, she kind of grew as a person as a result. I would love to see that. Or I'd love to hear y'all thoughts about it if y'all are binge watching, because I also love Girlfriends. Like, why don't we have more shows like that right now? That's also another question that I have. What do we need to get that going? Yes, that's what I also need to happen right now. Like, we need more Girlfriends type of shows going on. Also, so yeah, Jamila adds also the fact that William kept his job and Joan quit. Yes, William kept his job and he still got into the entrepreneur game because, he's about that paper. William is definitely about that paper, and he's going to do, what makes money for sure. So William is about that bag. So, and he likes being a lawyer. So, and he did actually, but there actually is a point that was very short-lived where William quit the firm and started his own kind of practice. And then he came back to the firm as a consultant, as an independent contractor, if you will. And he was making more money as an independent contractor with the firm than he was as an employee, and then he was able to eventually finagle that into like the senior partnership role. So kind of he took a super non-traditional route to the process of becoming a senior partner. And I think something the show definitely addressed was the difficulty that men and women, black men and women, have within the traditional white corporate environment, trying to break barriers and to ascend. And William was definitely able to. I do believe he had privilege in the fact that he was male and it was a male dominated firm, but I also think he was willing to take risk. And I remember there was an episode where Joan kind of says, William took a risk by quitting and it actually worked out, and he's actually in an even better position with the firm than he was before. And Joan was too scared at the time to take that risk. But who's to say that she was as valued and that the result would have been the same for her? But she had a lot more fear and she was a lot more risk averse. So for her to even have left the firm and to just quit doing law altogether probably took a lot. But I can relate to be in a position where you're like, you really, as safe as you may be and as risk averse as you may be, I definitely can understand being in a situation where you're like, I hate this job. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And your body literally starts rebelling. Like when Joan was on that elevator and she finally got some of the things she wanted. I think she got the raise, she got the better office, she was on the top floor. Like, she was actually starting to kind of like make that senior partner track transition. Like, I think she was on track to becoming a senior partner. But she might have still had, a journey ahead of her to get there. But the fact that, they take the elevator to the top floor, and in that last scene when she's at the law firm and her body literally would not allow her to get off the elevator, like, I can't do it. I definitely understand that feeling. And I think that part of the reason why you got, welcome to new people coming in, I think part of the reason why you get that feeling where your body is like literally rebelling against you is because Joan was probably already getting signs that she shouldn't be doing law anymore. She was already starting to feel like she was disinterested. Other people were starting to see she was disinterested, but she was still trying to force herself to stay the course. Did she ever go back to the firm? I don't think so. I think she keeps the restaurant, I believe. And she may start another business. I can't remember. We have to keep watching. I can't remember what happened, but I don't think she ever went back to law. I know she did eventually like fall in love with the man and stuff, but I don't think she went back to law. But I think part of the reason why you have those Joan moments where you can't get off the elevator at your job, or you just like, no matter how hard you try, you just cannot put on your clothes and go to that job, is because you were already getting signs probably a year ago, months ago, that you needed to leave that and move on to something else, and you weren't listening. So now your body is just like, I can't do it. And I think that's what was happening to Joan. Like, she was, becoming disinterested in it anyway. And she kind of realized that maybe she had hit the ceiling of how far she was going to go. And so she was like, and this is not really what I enjoy that much anyway. So she eventually, her body was just like, I can't come up in here. And when she's at work, she's daydreaming about doing something else, being somewhere else. And I can definitely relate, to that feeling. And also the feeling of sometimes looking around your work environment and being like, why am I here? I'm not like these people. This is pointless. This is not where I'm supposed to be. So I've definitely been in situations where I've been in a job and I'm looking around, I'm looking at the people, and I might have been going to this job 3 years, but I look around and I'm like, why am I here? Why am I with these people? Why am I doing this? This is not where I should be. This is not what I want to be doing right now. And it gets harder and harder and harder to go. So I thought that was a good thing that Jamila said, girl, I know, girl, it's tough. So I love the fact that they were covering that feeling. They was hitting all the points. Like, I'll tell you, it's interesting because it's like, I do feel like your late 20s do just, it's like certain stuff. Sometimes for some people it happens a little towards the mid 20s where certain stuff start to happen, and it kind of happens for everybody in some form or fashion. And so you kind of see a lot of those life shifts. For Maya, who was a little younger, for her it was getting the divorce. That was her big shift moment in this show. For Joan, it was putting her job at the law firm. For Toni, I think it was going out on her own. I think Toni had a few moments. Going on her own, getting married, getting divorced, having a child. Those were some of her shift moments. Lynn was always shifting. Lynn was always shifting and always trying to kind of figure things out. So they kind of show Lynn being this kind of drifter, and it always seemed like Lynn was able to survive. I don't know what she did to survive, like, consistently, and at some point she was able to kind of maintain a living situation for herself. But it was also interesting to see, like, where I am in the seasons, which I think I'm very late into season 5, Lynn kind of finally feeling the brunt of not really sticking with anything and not really growing and building anything, and kind of seeing when she's looking around at her friends, and they're seeing the fruits of their labor. You know, they've worked hard, and now they're finally seeing the benefits of working hard. And for Lynn, it's like she never could stick with anything. And I kind of hated that she didn't stick with the documentary filmmaking, because she was really going somewhere with that. I thought she got funding to do it, and I feel like that was her lane to where maybe that could turn into a thing. And she was doing well with that, but she just, you know, she lost interest with it. And I think that one thing I realized as an entrepreneur is that you really do have to stick with it. Like, you just have to stick with it. Most people that are successful, they have, even if they haven't run the particular business that's doing well that long, they have put in work somewhere else along the way that got them to the place where they can do what they can do now. And so I think so many people, they don't stick with something, or they don't see instant results, and they're ready to kind of give up. And that's kind of the way Lynn was. Or she just became disinterested. Maybe she saw some traction with things, but she just wasn't able to stick with it. And I feel like it was hard for her to see something grow. And I do think she became frustrated with herself because she hadn't really stuck with anything. Whereas, you know, you see some of the other ladies really sticking with it. And I think that you really see that with Maya, where she, you know, she started something out of nothing. Like, what were the odds that she was just going to become this successful author just from writing a school paper for her college classes that she ended up getting a D on, and then deciding, okay, people at the hair salon like this book, so like this essay that I wrote, so let me make this into a book, and let me make this into a thing, and then let me sell it on the street. Like, you have to have a certain type of hustle and grit to you to be able to do that. And Maya really made something out of nothing. I would say the same thing with Toni. You know, you really saw them doing that. So I think the show did a great job of highlighting entrepreneurship for Black women specifically. And yes, oh hell yes, Jamila. Oh hell yes. Yes, I love that. So the fact that they really turned that into a thing, I like that. I like the way they show Black entrepreneurship and Black women, and that, and friends being supportive of one another's businesses. You know, when they were buying homes, they would use Toni to purchase the homes, and, you know, whatever skill set Lynn was into at the time, they would try to support her. They were supporting Joan in her restaurant. Like, everyone was trying to support one another. And I appreciated definitely seeing that, definitely seeing women kind of just be self-made in that sense. And I think when I was younger and the show was originally on, I could not appreciate that. You know, I was too young to appreciate that. But at this age, I definitely can appreciate it, honey. So if you're on now, let me know what y'all think. Go ahead and comment. Let me know what you think. If you've been watching the series, not sure where you are, what are y'all thinking about some of the ways the women are depicted, specifically in relation to career and business, and, you know, your perception of it. I also think they were never dating, for the most part, except Lynn. They really didn't date bummy guys. Like, they always dated guys that had careers or businesses. even in the first season, I think his name was Davis. The character was like a guy Joan would kind of always flirt with, but he owned his own restaurant, and the ladies would always eat at his restaurant. You know, he was a black-owned restaurant. So I thought that was super cool. I think in later seasons when they were at restaurants, it really wasn't clear who owned the restaurant. They didn't do so much work to highlight who owned it, except when they were at the Asian restaurant, I think they did. But in the last restaurant, the restaurant they're on in like season 5, they don't really highlight like who owns that. We don't know too much about that particular place. But it's really cool to see them in the first season, like having a lot of their drama and situations with this black restaurant owner, and kind of their relationship with him. I like to see that as well, and how that was depicted. And it was also interesting because Tony, you know, in the first season, Joan is kind of interested in the restaurant owner, Davis. And Tony is like, girl, you know, restaurant owners ain't got no money. You know that their assets are all tied up in the restaurant. And, you know, it's also interesting that, you know, they added that piece into the dialogue, because a lot of people may think, oh, somebody owns a restaurant and it seems to have a lot of people in there, then it must be very successful. They must be a successful person, all of these things. And so I like that they had Tony highlighting, maybe not, you know, maybe it's not that good. Maybe he in his restaurant, which they later followed up in like season 2, ended up explaining that his restaurant actually closed down. Because in the show, I also recognize in sitcoms, they would just switch up the scenery and don't explain why. And we don't get any explanations of why they no longer in the old places. But they did later explain when they had Davis on the show that he did lose the restaurant. So to Tony's point, she also highlighted that, you know, certain industries and things can be very volatile and hard to operate. They also highlighted how motherhood and single motherhood, specifically entrepreneurship, and how challenging that can be, and the challenges that Tony was experiencing trying to run her real estate business and be a mommy. I thought that was super interesting as well. And I'm trying to pin this comment here to the top. I didn't get a chance to before people started coming in. I'm kind of also at the episode where I think I just finished that episode where people were saying Tony was problematic. I think all the characters were problematic in different ways. Like, I don't think Tony, I think towards the end, the later seasons of the show, it almost seems like maybe they had different writers, because the dialogue is a lot different. And I do think that they turned up Tony's selfishness. Oh, my bad. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, they kind of turned up Tony's selfishness factor, because I feel like in season 1, she was superficial, but you also saw a lot of ways that she was there for Joan. She did nice things for Joan. Of course, she did do that thing with Joan's boyfriend, which wasn't cool. But yeah, I think though it was the way they depicted Tony's character kind of evolved over time, and I do feel like some seasons they turned up, like towards the end, they did kind of turn up her very like selfishness and self-centeredness. But I think there were still things we can learn from Tony. And I just finished up the episode where Maya has a oh hell yes, I wouldn't call it a conference, but maybe it was a conference, like a multi-day seminar, like a women empowerment seminar. And she had Joan and Tony as the panelists, and she had a couple other panelists on the other side. And I thought it was also interesting to see the girlfriends be participating in a panel, and how being a successful woman is depicted in it's also crazy because it's the same thing now when you go to like women empowerment events. It's like the same type of dynamic. Yeah, so you said first season he said she doesn't date dark skinned men. She did say that, and I don't think she ever did date any. I guess that's how she felt. I mean, she was extremely superficial, but she did explain that to me, and I feel like she felt like as a dark-skinned woman, she experienced certain things, and so she didn't want her child to experience that. And ultimately, she didn't have a child with a dark-skinned man. She had a child with a white man. So she cared about good hair. Good hair was mentioned a lot, I noticed, in the season. So that was definitely something that was cared about. But kind of going back to that, oh hell yes, empowerment seminar. and how like women empower women is supposed to look. And it looks the way that, like, when I've gone to women empowerment things, how they look. Like, women are dressed up real cute, hair done, makeup done, and, you know, they have packed resumes, and, you know, there's just a certain way those events look. And it was interesting to see that dynamic being played out on the show and how it affected Lynn, who felt like she should be up there, right? And she was like, you know, the success that y'all are talking about is material success or accolades. But I wasn't clear. I wish they would have done a little bit of a better job in that scene to explain Lynn's point better of why Lynn felt like she should be up there, besides the fact that everyone else is up there and I'm not. I think they could have done a better job of trying to explain, okay, why does Lynn feel like she should be up there? Like, does she feel like she has personal growth? And that should be, her personal growth should be accounted for. I wasn't exactly clear why I understood the point that she was criticizing material success and just looking at success in terms of money and accolades, but I didn't understand why she felt like she should be up there. And I know she was saying there was a scene where she kind of gets up during the seminar, and hey, Kay Marshall, she gets up during the seminar and Lynn says, I have 5 degrees and you know, I forgot what else she was trying to say about herself, but it's kind of like if she was criticizing the other women being up there because they're just up there because of their accolades or their money, then why does she get up there and try to like also use like her degrees, which are accolades, to, you know, justify her positioning of why she should be up there. So I thought that was interesting. I thought they could have did a little bit more with that, but I thought it had opportunity to be an interesting discussion. Girlfriends is definitely a mess, honey. And Joan was freezing up. I don't know what the hell was going on with Joan. Why she was acting so nutty in that episode. Like, she was really, she had got upset over that disinterested versus uninterested thing. I didn't understand why Joan was tripping. Joan was just tripping. But yeah, I thought that was a great scene. I'm kind of like at the point where they just finished that up, and now I'm at the piece where like her restaurant is doing very well, and she's going to all these parties and she's dating all these fly dudes and she's just living it up. And she's kind of like, though Joan, I feel like the entire series has always been super giving to everybody, she's finally taking that time to focus on herself. So I think the show does a good job of also showing the arc of like the struggle in business and the struggle that you experience to grow something, but then also showing, okay, these are all the things that can come when you're successful at it. And so Joan is doing super well in her business, you know, at this point where I am in the season, getting close to season 6. And she's starting to neglect her friends, and she's starting to go out to these different parties. And one of the things that she says is, you know, I've never been the person that got invited to the cool parties. I've never been the person that had these, you know, fine men, you know, not necessarily fighting over her, but wanting to be interested in her and having multiple options. Like, that was something she wasn't used to, so she living it up. And I'm actually not mad at Joan for doing that. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I'm actually not mad at Joan for being like, you know what? I'm going to focus on me right now. I'm doing well in my business. I've worked hard. And y'all going to have to fall on the back burner a little bit. Now, she could be a little more communicative. But she might need to let them know, I know I'm usually the friend that does this and does that. But right now, I'm being young, sexy, and fly. That's the phase that I'm in right now. I thought it was interesting that they had Joan doing a restaurant. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I knew it would be something in design or food because that's what she loves to do. But it's also interesting to see her kind of like, I don't know, just evolve and flourish. Just evolve and flourish in the scenes. For sure. Like, what are y'all's favorite scenes, favorite characters in the show? Mine is William and Joan. I think as the show evolves, I started liking Maya better. I think in the very beginning it was William and Joan, and now it's like William and Maya. Like, I like Maya's dialogue a lot better in the later seasons of the show. But I actually miss, now what do y'all think about when Joan would have her, like in season 1, I believe the word is aside, when something would happen and they would show Joan's face, and then she would do like a separate monologue. She would do like a separate monologue about something, and it would typically be something very funny. I miss that. Like, I know they got rid of that by the time they moved into season 2. That was just something they did for season 1, but I did enjoy that. I think that, like, season 1 is my favorite season. It was the funniest season, I think, because part of it because they had the Jones asides where, you know, something was happening and they would have kind of like this separate, you know, insight into Joan's mind while the thing was happening. I like that a lot. Yeah, so Kay Marshall says she's like that as well. Yeah, I missed that in the later seasons. Or it could have even been cool to have some of the other characters have them too. So, because I feel like in the beginning of the show they had Joan definitely being like the main character, and later on they were giving kind of all of the characters equal presentation. But I think it would have been cool to see maybe more of the characters have that opportunity to do those, because I thought those made the show super funny. But I was just thinking about Darnell, Maya's husband. He also had a business. He owned an auto body shop, so that was also another character in the mix who also had a business. And I'm trying to think, was it anyone else that was a business owner kind of in the mix? I remember Darnell did. He definitely had a business. So they highlighted entrepreneurship a lot in the show. I don't feel like that was when people talk about the show, I don't feel like that's an element that they speak about a lot. But it's really cool. So Jamila says, I feel like I'm a mixture of all these women. Yeah, I definitely think they represent, I think the show does a good job of representing all women, and they definitely do a good job of representing like the different things that women go through. Black women go through specifically. Just in that age range, the different ups and downs you experience. So yeah, I definitely agree. I see the elements of myself. I feel like I probably have a little bit of more of a Joan in me, but I probably have a mixture of everybody. I definitely have a mixture of everybody. I'm probably the least like Lynn, but I mean, no, I can be laid back like Lynn, I think. I don't know. I have elements of all the characters. But I also noticed that the later seasons in the show, it was almost like they were trying to make the characters, they kind of typecast the characters a certain way. And I think that they turned up the heat on that in the later seasons, because I saw a comment that someone put on Instagram, and they were saying that they felt like, I would never want to have friends. Like, the person said they would never want to have friends like the girlfriends. They would never want to have friends like them. They didn't like the dynamic of their friendship. I definitely think there were some problematic things in their friendship, but I also think that in the earlier seasons, you kind of saw a lot more kinship amongst them, and it was kind of in later seasons, I did notice their dialogue towards one another was a lot more like jabby. Like, they were jabbing at each other more. So I thought that was interesting. I definitely noticed that shift, especially you can see the shifts better when you're binge watching the shows, because when they actually came on, they came on once a week for years. Like, it was usually Monday night. They would come on for 30, it was a 30-minute show that would come on for years, and there would be breaks in between, of course. So you really didn't get an opportunity to like put the whole show together and watch how they were changing things. You didn't always notice it, I feel like, when you're watching it, when it was actually coming on. So watching it, binge watching it, I can see some changes in the dialogue amongst the women, and it does seem like there's a little bit more of like an underlying tension amongst all of them, to where they're poking at each other or highlighting each other's like soft points. And so I can definitely see where that person was coming from there. But I feel like in the earlier seasons, there was a lot more softness that they had with one another. Even if even with Tony's character, you saw a lot more sweetness with her in season 1 than you see in later seasons. So Julie said they were a bit too jabby for me, always taking shots. It was in a loving way, but that would be too much for me. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. I think sometimes you get with your friends and y'all take an occasional shot at each other, occasional jab, but it was like a consistent dynamic. And I even remember there being points where like Joan was struggling with her restaurant, and the other girls, sat her down and were kind of trying to convince her to close it. And then it wasn't until the lady that Lynn was dating, in air quotes, at the time kind of told them, well, if you're Joan's friends and she wants to keep the restaurant open, y'all should try to do something to help her. And then they were like, oh, I guess, so we'll do it tomorrow. You know, I thought that was kind of cold, like, damn, you know. And I also didn't understand why anyone didn't suggest to her that she rework the restaurant. If the restaurant wasn't working the way it was, maybe you should rework the menu, rework the concept. It was like that didn't really come into play until William started just like doing things to see what could work, you know, throwing things at the wall. So I didn't understand as her friends why they wouldn't have suggested, okay, Joan, no, people don't really want to eat tapas or whatever her Mediterranean, whatever her vibe she was trying to go for. People aren't really interested. Maybe you should try something else before you completely give up. I thought it was interesting that they were actually kind of trying to tell her, give it up. And Joan had to be like, no, I don't want to give it up. You know, I appreciate what y'all are saying, but I'm gonna keep it. So I thought that was, I didn't care for that scene, but I loved, now the scene that I loved was when Tony sat Joan down and was like, look, when, you know, they were starting to see some success when William had kind of rolled in those TVs and Joan was about to sell her portion of the restaurant. And Tony sat her down and said, girl, you wanted a successful restaurant. You're getting close to it. You need to stick with this and see it out. See it forward. And I love the way Tony sat and gave her the real and kind of checked her and got her together. And I remember watching that and being like, yes, Tony, yes, yes, yes. I love when Tony sat her down and gave her the real and like, look, okay, it's not what you initially wanted it to be. It's not how you envisioned, but guess what? Being broke ain't cute. I remember she said something to that degree. Being broke ain't cute. You know, so you have an opportunity to not be broke, so you need to pursue that. You need to put your energy into that. And I love the way Tony kind of got her together and brought her humility down a little bit. Like, ma'am, bring it down, bring your ego down a little bit, get over it. People didn't want to do what you know, people didn't like the restaurant exactly the way you envisioned it. Make a few tweaks, and then let's see what we can do. And I feel like the way the restaurant ultimately turned out, it still turned out beautifully and it still turned out classy. And so it was the best of both worlds, and it just had a touch of element of sports to it, which she may not have envisioned or cared about initially. So I thought that was awesome too. I love that scene. Like, I love that scene, and that kind of redeemed for me the scene where the girls were trying to get trying to get Joan to quit. So that kind of redeemed it for me. I said, okay, they doing it. Okay, I'm here with this. So Jamila, I think you're probably pretty late into the show. I feel like you're around the same area that I am at the show. And I still need to watch like the last half of it, because of course, I feel like these later episodes, I don't remember some of them. I remember a lot of the earlier episodes, but I don't remember a lot of the later ones. So perhaps I didn't watch them, or I missed some episodes or something when they, in the like the 5, 6, I think it was 7 seasons. So I think those last 3 seasons, I might have missed some episodes. So I definitely want to do a follow-up conversation to all this once I actually finish watching all of them, to kind of talk about this topic and then other things that I noticed as well. So I know right now where we are at the show, because I cannot remember what happened to the restaurant. I don't remember if it stayed open until the end of the series or if Joan pivoted, because I feel like I recall Joan doing some sort of interior design. I don't know where that came from. Yeah, I can't remember where Joan ended up. And I know Tony, of course, left the show eventually. And I guess Maya continued on. I can't remember what ended up happening with Maya and Lynn. I remember Lynn started renting out Joan's house, but I can't remember what Lynn, and maybe she was on her music. Maybe Lynn ended up working on her music. And then I feel like there's a point where Darnell stops doing the NASCAR thing. So I can't remember exactly what the note was that everything ended. And I know that Girlfriends didn't have a proper ending because I think it was the writer's strike. So they were never able to like formally close out the show, which sucks. So it kind of just ended, as opposed to having a closeout. So I definitely want to see. So Jamila says there wasn't too much closure, if any. Yeah, there was no closure because I think the writer's strike, and then they killed the show. So that was that. But I think for that show to have been on as long as it was, for it to have been how many episodes? I think each season is like 20, almost 30 episodes. It's crazy. So it's like we don't have those kind of things anymore. I miss that so much. I miss having those kind of shows and being able to just, I mean, I know we have Insecure, but the Insecure comes on once every 2 years. Like, we just don't have anything consistent and as quality as Girlfriends. Like, what a loss. But yes, thank you all for joining. I think I am gonna save this conversation to my IGTV, and I may also upload it to YouTube. I think I will, so that people can watch it there. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think about Girlfriends. If you just started watching it, wherever you are in the season, how do you think that Girlfriends depicts entrepreneurship? So thank you guys so much for joining me on this Sunday evening. I am wishing you blessings and prosperity in your coming week, and I will see you soon.